What if we made our own summer camp?
It's deranged.
No counselors.
It's brilliant.
No rules.
We need an adult to pull it off.
I'm an adult.
Thank you very much.
Technically.
And no parents.
She'd be gone for 8 weeks?
Yes!
Camp Nowhere.
The games begin!
They've conned their parents.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, this is Arnold.
Yes!
They've paid off the authorities.
You're a little short.
Well, you're a little fat.
And they bought all the supplies.
Nice one, guys. Ever think about how you're gonna get it inside?
Or the chainsaw!
Now, they're writing their own ticket for the summer of their lives.
Letters home to your parents so they don't get suspicious.
Don't worry, Mom.
Write me.
We won't be playing with caps or sparklers.
Check this out.
We've had some reports of a gang of unruly kids in the area. You know anything about that?
No, officer.
This summer,
What's the phone number of that camp? We are so screwed.
All the parents want a Parents' Day, so we'll give them a Parents' Day. The nerds are here.
at Camp Nowhere,
What kind of omelet is that?
Popcorn.
Breakfast of champions.
kids rule. Christopher Lloyd, Camp Nowhere.
Try rubbing them together. What if we can't get it going? There. Thank God. That was close.
And welcome to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. Before we get started, please make sure you subscribe to the show on your podcatcher of choice, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to give the show 5 stars and a 1 to 2 sentence review, and tell me what you think. If you'd like to follow the show on social media, you can do so on Instagram at Cult Cinema Circle, or on Twitter at Cult Cinecircle, or you can send me an email at cultcinemacircle@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Letterboxd at Jesse Kremp, JESSEKREMP, all one word, and all social media links will be put in the show notes. Now on with the show. Now on today's episode, we are going to go over to camp, but it's not going to be like a horror movie camp or anything like that. No, we don't have to fear for our lives, I don't think. But no, we're going to go to a little camp, and it's called Camp Nowhere. Yeah, we're covering that movie from 1994 that some people have never heard of, but you know what? I've heard of it now, and I've watched it, and that's why we're covering it. This movie is also turning 30 years old, so I thought, why the hell not? Like, let's cover it. But I couldn't do this alone on my lonesome. No, I could not do that. I needed to bring in someone who I feel like is an expert on maybe camp, both in the literal sense and then also just like the sensibility sense, perhaps a little bit too. So you have heard him on my episode for the Virgin Suicides, where we had a fun conversation about a very sad movie and a very sad book. But he also is the host of the Release Date Rewind podcast, which I have been a wonderful, wonderful guest on, and I think you should listen to his show for sure and check him out. But please welcome back Mark J. Parker. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, Jesse. What an intro. You are so good, and you sound great. It's so fun to be back, and you're so right. We had such a moody, sad, we had a great conversation,
yes.
But we're going from moody and sad to upbeat, fun, early 90s, anything goes.
100%. Yes. So let's start off at the top real quick, just so we don't have to do it at the end. Mark, I want you to plug your social medias and tell people about yourself just a little bit if they didn't maybe listen to the Virgin Suicides episode. Yeah. Just plug your socials, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do. And then also, if you want to tell me a little bit about why exactly you, tell me your history with this movie, and then I'll tell you a little bit about why I was like, let's cover it. But I'd like to hear about that.
Totally. Yeah. So, hi, everybody. My name's Mark, like Jesse said. Release Date Rewind is my show that I've been doing for almost 4 years. You can find me at Release Date Rewind on Instagram. You can also find my film page, MJP_POV, because I'm a filmmaker and casting director and producer, and I do a few cool things every now and then when I'm lucky. But I love talking about movies that are celebrating milestone anniversaries. I've just always loved that, even growing up, rewatching or watching for the first time a movie that, is celebrating a big number. So Jesse was on my show earlier this year for Serial Mom, for another 1994 great movie. So, those early 90s movies, I mean, I just feel like they don't make them like they used to. So it's nice to go back in time and go back to camp for Camp Nowhere. But yeah, this movie, as we'll talk about, was not really a big hit, which is a bummer because it's so fun, so full of energy. But I don't think I saw this in the theater. I don't think really many people did. Sorry.
I don't think either.
Right? But I was so, I mean, let's see, in 94, I wasn't 10 yet. I was like maybe 7-ish. Yeah, if I'm doing that math correctly. So by the time it probably, came to video or maybe HBO, like I was so into this movie with all these cool, fun kids. And it's so like punk 90s, very, it's like, I was thinking it's like Blank Check meets Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, which are two movies I have always loved. So it was just right up my alley, right? And so I just totally love this movie. I mean, of course, it has some issues, and we'll talk about that. But at least with my group of friends back then in the mid 90s, by the time we saw it, it was definitely like a little bit of a thing, with kids of a certain age. So it's fun to now come on and talk to you about it. And when I saw you posted this, I was like, oh man, I love that movie. And you're like, do you want to come on? I'm like, let's make it work. I'll figure something out. And here
exactly. Because you are a busy bee, and you're doing the things. You are jet setting, and you are doing all the stuff. So yeah, please, all the social media links will be in the show notes, all that good stuff. But
thanks.
Of course. But yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying with that. And I think for me at least, Camp Nowhere, I don't think I had ever heard of this movie ever in my life. We are a little bit different in age, but like, still like I would have been somebody who would have seen like The Little Rascals and like, like Richie Rich and stuff like that. It's not like it was that.
Language.
Right.
Yes.
Like I remember these movies, but Camp Nowhere is kind of this like weird outlier, which I don't think everyone knows about it.
It's definitely a little under the radar, and it's weird because I realized like, wait, why did this come out the last weekend of August? It's a camp movie. If anything, hello Disney, like maybe this should have been like a May movie or even April. Like let's get it out there before everyone gets excited for summer camp, right? So the timing, they definitely kind of dumped it, which is weird because it's not bad. We've seen way worse movies out there,
Yeah, so. Even from Disney for sure. But yeah, I think I became familiar with this movie honestly when shout out Pod Meets World with the people from Boy Meets World doing their episodes on it, because they had mentioned probably on one of their episodes before, they had mentioned that actually Marlene, I think her name is, or Marnie Patterson, who plays Trish.
Marnette Patterson, I think. Is that
she was actually on an episode of Boy Meets World earlier in their series, and they probably mentioned like, oh yeah, she was in Camp Nowhere. But they always kind of had this like, and actually they just had Betty Stoller herself, Hillary Tuck, who
really?
Yes, they had her on the show because she was on Boy Meets World 3 separate times playing 3 separate characters.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
And she's also she's iconic. But she came on and she talked about how her first like big movie was Camp Nowhere. Ever. And she talked about that. And then also they just did an episode not too long ago where the 3 hosts, Will Friedle, Danielle Fishel, and Ryder Strong, they brought on Hillary to talk about this movie, where we're going to get some of that information about the background of this.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah, and they just talked about it, and they seem to actually like it. They seem to like the movie as well, which is funny because all of those people, maybe with the exception of Will Friedle, because he was a little bit older, but like Ryder Strong and Danielle Fishel, they are like the same ages as these kids. So they very well would have been in this movie if they could have been, obviously. But yeah, so it's like, but yeah, it was really interesting. And I think that's when I had heard of it, and I was like, well, this kind of works as a cult movie. So that's what my show is. So I thought, why not? And also, again, like you were saying, it's celebrating a big anniversary, and you're more apt to, although it's funny, I looked before, there isn't really much in terms of an oral history of this movie or anything like that, which I think is interesting, just because I'm like, so no, like, person has decided. I think I'm interested to see if it'll happen. We'll have to see about that.
But you're so right, Jesse. This is a true cult I would say this is definitely a cult classic,
Completely.
you know, or at least a cult movie. I don't know if we can call it a cult classic since it doesn't have like maybe enough of a following. But yeah, like those who know, like this was at least like, you know, a fun blip in time, you know. But yeah, it opened at like number 9, I think I saw. So Disney really did not have much faith in it. I guess they didn't market it enough. Like, I'm too young to really remember any ads or anything for it. I definitely discovered it later. But yeah, and you know, now did you know about Hilary Tuck like before? Like, so it sounds like you knew her from Boy Meets World, or did you never really watch her in anything before? Because I didn't really know her that well.
I knew her from Boy Meets World.
Okay.
Because I remember she's in the Disney World episode.
Yeah. Okay.
So all this. I also slightly remember, even though I did not watch the show, but she is Amy O'Neill's character from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. She plays that on the TV show.
Okay. Yep.
And she was in that with homosexual himself, Thomas Dekker, being a little baby.
Oh my gosh, how funny he's
I know.
in that.
He is.
Wow.
He plays the little brother in that, and that's Hilary Tuck's
Peter Scolari. Yeah, he took over for Rick Moranis in that one, right? Yeah.
We'll talk about that fabulous man. Oh my God.
Oh, I love him. Yeah, we did his Celebrity Ghost Story when I worked on Celebrity Ghost Stories.
Oh hell yeah. Oh hell yeah.
So random.
Oh, we're gonna get into it. Sorry, but anyway, so yes, but I knew who she was, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. But then you have, and we'll get into it, but you have like so many like people who would then go on to be like a thing. We'll talk about it, but oh my God. And
great casting. And I just looked, the casting director's name is Amy Lippins, who I'm not too familiar with her, but I see on her IMDb, she not only cast this, she cast Saw and Saw 2. What a range, everybody. What a wild range. So,
she gave us Beverly Mitchell in that Saw 2 movie, honey.
You're right. She knows her young teen idols for sure.
Oh my God. I love that though. But yeah, so that was my familiarity with this, and like we normally do on the show, we'll go over some of the figures of the movie, talk a little bit about just what our feelings are. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about camp because I think you have some experiences to share and all that, and yeah, we'll just have a fun little conversation about this. But it's such an interesting little film, and I'm just like, okay, let's see how this goes. But yeah, so as you were stating, this was an August movie. It was released August 26th, 1994, which I don't know, maybe Disney back then, I don't know what they were doing, but yeah, it was like with Hocus Pocus, that's like obviously like a fall movie, but like it was released in July. It was a whole thing. Yeah,
so random. They really did not. It's funny because like you saw, and I think it's even in your notes that you sent me, like the whole Hollywood Pictures, like Disney didn't even have their logo on this because it's some of the jokes we'll talk about, I'm sure, are a little risque, you know. Of course it's definitely a little PG-13 at times. I mean, me as a kid, I loved it. Are you kidding? I'm like, give me like some real jokes here. But yeah, they really were nervous at this time with anything that wasn't like super
squeaky
soft
clean
and cuddly. Yes, exactly. So they would just sort of like drop it in the summer or at a random time and not let it really, you know, get the following it maybe deserves. So
absolutely. Yeah, exactly. This comes in at a 98-minute movie. Not too bad. I don't think it needed to be cut down that much more, which is good. And then it's a Buena Vista Picture distribution. So for those who don't know, that is literally the kind of more adults slash whatever kind of thing for Disney. So anything that's not just like a Walt Disney picture. A lot of the times when it's something a little bit more adult themed, it might go to Touchstone or Buena Vista and all that stuff. I don't even think Buena Vista exists anymore. I think it got absorbed.
Yeah, I think it got absorbed. Yeah, and it's funny because Wendy, I never know how to say her last name. McKenna?
Well, McKenna? We'll talk about her too.
We'll talk about her, but she, of course, you know, was in Sister Act 1 and 2, and I remember those were Touchstones. So those were under Disney, but I just always associate Sister Act with that Touchstone logo. So
completely, 100%.
Any more adult comedy that they did, would go there. You're right.
100%. Yeah. And then I don't know what the budget is on this, and I don't think anybody knew what the budget was. I mean, God, it might have to be at least like maybe a couple million.
It probably was like, you know, because I even wrote my notes, amazing art direction at the camp, like all these great colors and props. So, I mean, and of course you have Christopher Lloyd. I mean, the adults were definitely more famous, of course, at the time
Totally.
than a lot of these new kids. But I mean, I'm sure some of those adults had bigger paydays. But yeah,
Sure.
I can't imagine it was more than a few million, maybe 5 million. I'm sure it was small, right?
Maybe. Even the Paw Meets World people were like, they didn't know what the budget was either. And of course, Hillary doesn't know. She was an actress. She didn't know.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's like, whatever.
She's like, I don't know. I just got the check. But but in this situation, she's just like, I don't know. But they even were like, oh, it might have been like this many million or whatever. Da da da. You know, we'll talk about all that. But like you said, this came in at number 9 with $2.7 million. Of course, I had to go and see, kind of like you do on your show, because I just think it's fun to do, what else was in the theater at the time. So this movie actually premiered against Natural Born Killers, which was at number 1.
Which I still have never seen. Have you?
No, I know Juliette Lewis is in it.
And Woody Harrelson.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Oliver Stone. Yeah, never saw it, which is crazy. I feel like that's like something we should totally see.
I probably should, yeah. And then, of course, Forrest Gump was still in the theater as well.
Yep.
The Mask was in the theater. You did an episode of The Mask before.
Oh, yeah.
Good old Corinna, who I always think that Jenna Malone's in that movie, but it's not.
Right.
That's Tina Majorino. That's
Majorino, yes, from Andre. Oh,
Yes,
she was such a thing then.
Yes.
And Napoleon Dynamite.
And Napoleon
a couple
Dynamite,
years later.
Waterworld, all that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Waterworld, yeah.
Yes. And then True Lies was still in theaters as well.
Yep.
The Lion King actually was at number 8, whereas this was at number 9. And then behind this, we had The Little Rascals that was in theaters as well. In the Army Now with Pauly Shore was also there.
Yeah.
Andre, like you said, so good old Tina Majorino. She had two movies in the theater.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Yeah, was Andre? Oh my God, was that in '94? Oh my God, I love that movie so much.
It was in its second week.
Wow. Okay, well, I got to post about that when it comes time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Blank Man with, I think, oh God, one of the Wayans.
Damon Wayans. Oh my God, Blank Man. It's so funny, Jesse. That was on my list of ideas to potentially talk about on my show this August, but I'm not going to fit it in. And also, it's kind of tough when a comedy is that goofy. It's kind of tough to like talk about it because then you're just quoting all the jokes and you're like, this isn't even really, you're just like, but God, I loved Blank Man so much. I saw that in theaters for sure.
Oh, 100%. And then the Flintstones was still in theaters as well. It's 14th week. Jurassic Park was still killing it in theaters. And then
was it really? Wow.
It was.
Oh my gosh, a year later.
Still in theaters. It was in 64th week.
Jesus. Oh my God.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And then also the unfortunate, but I think she's iconic, Julia Sweeney had her movie, It's Pat, from her SNL character, which is also a Walt Disney Studio motion picture somehow, some way.
Disney.
That's what Box Office Mojo says, and that movie is okay. Anyway, I love Julia Sweeney so much, like my God, but that was Oh yeah,
that was very much a product of that time and only that time. You know, like I'm sure even within a very fast couple years, people kind of stopped talking about that one. Yeah, I know. But she is great.
She is great. We love her. And then I only see that this movie was at 9 and then it went to 12 Labor Day weekend. I don't even know, to be honest, if this movie even stayed in theaters that much. I think it stayed in there for 2 weeks.
Is
what Box Office says. And then it probably got pulled because they were like, girl, this is not doing anything. Like, what are we doing? Yeah,
I know. And it probably went to like video and, well, there was no DVD back then. So it probably went to video pretty soon, I bet. Because that's how I discovered it. So I bet more kids found it, of course, at home. So yeah.
Maybe about 10 million though worldwide, so that's cool.
Not bad.
Not bad. And then so we have the Voice of the People on Letterboxd. They gave this a 2.9 out of 5 overall. 17% on Rotten Tomatoes with 12 reviews.
Ooh.
And then also, but it's a 58% with about 25,000 ratings from people who went on Rotten Tomatoes and rated it. So I do think that, like you were saying, there is a subsect of people who do like this film and do enjoy it. So that's a cool thing.
It's very nostalgic. Like it's the kind of movie where like not only for like me, someone who's seen it years ago, and like, oh, that brings me back to a time, but it's kind of just like a movie just in general. It just kind of instantly has a nostalgic vibe. You know, it's summer
Agreed.
camp. It's let's have the best summer ever. So, I mean, you know, how can you hate it? Right?
So before we get into cast and crew and all that, I want to give you a bit of a task that we normally do. So tell me a little bit. So if you were to maybe tell somebody who's never seen this movie before, what exactly Camp Nowhere is about? What is Camp Nowhere about? Tell me.
Let's see. So what is Camp Nowhere about? So we have 4 friends, although I say friends in quotes because like they're friends, but not really. We have Mud. We have, of course, now I'm blanking on all their names.
Trish.
But Trish and is it Gabby? And then Andrew Keegan, who is like Zach, of course. He's such a Zach. But Zach is like kind of bully, but also kind of cool, you know, and also I could definitely relate to something like that because back in the day, you know, I had a couple friends, at least one friend that was like quote unquote popular and I wasn't. So like we were neighbors and we were tight, but at school we couldn't be tight. So like that's kind of their dynamic where like Zach and Mud are like total opposites. They're kind of like Zach's the bully, but Mud, you know, and Zach are actually kind of okay together outside of school. But anyway, the 4 of them are dreading their separate summer plans, everything from math camp, so funny, to Broadway camp. I love Trish, you know, complaining about like, did you get the Clearasil commercial? To fat camp, which we have to just we'll talk more about it, I'm sure, but Gabby is not and never was anywhere near the word fat.
I know.
That is crazy casting. I mean, I understand why she was cast. She's a great little actress. Oh my gosh. But like, what? I mean, that's a whole other like sub story that I feel like we needed where it's like, no, mom has issues calling you fat, right?
I know, right?
And then Zach has to go to military camp because his dad's real strict and everything. So they're all complaining and Mud has this genius idea. What if our parents basically paid for camp, which costs thousands of dollars for these long sleepaway camps? What if our parents paid for a camp that we ran, that we rented a place, we'd pay for it, and the light bulbs go off and they have this plan and they rope in Christopher Lloyd in one of his craziest roles. What's his name? He is Dennis Van Walker. Well, Van Welker.
Oh my God. Iconic name, first off.
Iconic name. Out of work actor, out of work drama teacher, lives in a trailer, works
probably
at like
was fired from that job.
For sure. Oh yeah, I think what's the line? And it's so funny because it actually is a real musical and it's hilarious. Trish says, he was fired from being the drama teacher.
Silence of the Lambs musical.
Wanted to do, exactly, a musical of Silence of the Lambs. Meanwhile, there has been one and it's so damn funny, a great parody. Right? Oh my God. But so they rope him in as like their chaperone, their kind of camp director, if you will. And they, lo and behold, they find a camp that is not in service at all. And they make it their own and they have an amazing party time. But as all, you know, kids movies and any movie, you know, our lead characters need to learn something. And they realize, you know what, maybe order isn't such a bad thing. So yeah, as they have fun together, there's some tension, some drama here and there, romantic tension, a little bit of butting heads, but they realize, all right, we got to actually have some sort of order to this chaos.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Camp Nowhere in a nutshell.
Yeah, pretty much for the most part. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what that is, and it's interesting because like the actual camp, quote unquote, I think was sort of a commune, like a hippie commune. So that's what we're going off of, I think, and that's a whole thing. Yeah, but let's get into this cast and the crew a little bit. So we'll talk about the crew first, as we do. So this is Jonathan Prince. He did this movie. He also did a movie called The Great Mom Swap, which was like a TV movie, which also had Hillary Tuck in it, I guess.
Oh, how funny!
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jonathan Prince, I don't think he's really had like a giant career or anything like that. And if anything, maybe he's done more TV, perhaps.
I did a brief look and it looked like he had directed like Party of Five, like lots of different TV through the years. Yeah.
Totally. Probably a journeyman kind of director, if you will. We then have our 2 writers. We have Andrew Kurtzman and then also Elliot Wald. They did a movie called See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I don't know what that is. And
I looked it up because it sounds, I'm pretty sure that is like a horror movie title as well.
It sounds like it.
But no, it's Gene Wilder. It's a comedy from before this time, which I guess had, you know, it's obviously not too famous to us, but I'm sure it had its moment. But yeah, so they have some comedy cred there.
Yes, and they did Down Periscope as well, was the other one that they I think had worked on, or one of them had worked on. Yeah. Because it's interesting. I mean, I say this now because It's weird to me to think that this movie came out in theaters. I'm just like, this kind of has like, in a way, TV movie written all over it, and I wouldn't be shocked if people would think this was a TV movie. I was like, no, baby, it came out in theaters for 2 weeks. Like,
yeah, it feels very Disney Channel, you know, like which it would have been at that time. Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, you can tell it is a real movie because even Disney Channel movies, you know, it looks like a TV movie. So this does not look like a TV movie, but it has that feel. There's not like a ton of story, you know, it's pretty kind of by the numbers. Like I said, with Don't Tell Mom and Blank Check, you know, kids kind of running things themselves. So yeah, but at least it still feels, maybe with the presence of some movie stars as the adults, at least, you know, it still feels like a legit movie.
It does, true. I feel you. I feel you on that. We then have our composer, David Lawrence. This is the only movie he ever did.
Oh my God, how funny. Wow.
I don't think he did any other ones.
He's like, I'm done.
The theme song's kind of iconic, though, where they're yelling, nowhere. Yeah. Like,
I know. Nice. It's so simple, but so catchy. I don't know. I found myself like singing it all day yesterday. I'm like, nowhere. Yeah.
Yes. Then we have Sandy Sissel. She was our cinematographer. I think that might be a woman, I guess, unless it's a guy named Sandy. But I don't know.
I would assume so with the I at the end, right? Yeah.
She actually did The People Under the Stairs. She shot
How
that
random
for Wes
to
Craven.
Go from that to this. I mean, wow, range.
Another
classic.
Right? Another classic. It's so good. My sister's terrified of that movie. Rightfully so.
Oh, yeah. It's, you know, because it's comedic at times, but it's weird. It's a very weird, twisted movie, right?
It's weird, but it also has something to say. Kelly Jo Minter's there. Oh, it's iconic. I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then John Paul is our editor. He also edited The Greatest Showman, the Hugh Jackman.
Wow, another great one.
Yeah. Anybody else on the crew that you can think to point out or anything? I don't really think there's anybody else.
Not really. No, those are the big ones. But since I did talk about art direction, I'll just quick shout out. The art director was Keith Neely. Production designer was Rusty Smith. Let's see, what else did Rusty production design?
I wonder what they did.
Oh, he worked on Get Out. All right.
Okay.
He had done A League of Their Own a couple years prior, so some hits there as well. So yeah, just want to shout them out because, you know, all these props, all the painting and like their designs and just all the like, you know, firework stuff. And I just find it all so impressive because it's like they did not. Another movie would have maybe skimped on some of that stuff, or it would have looked really cheap. But all the stuff the kids are playing with and doing, it feels so real. So it does. Just giving them a shout, you know?
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. It feels like a camp. Like they, Because this was, so we'll talk about it just a little. This was shot at Disney Ranch in California. So I don't remember what else there was in it. Actually, it was in The Office. I remember Pop Meets World was talking about it, and it is.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, it's I think it's Dwight or something. He has something there. I don't know what it was.
Oh, how funny. Okay.
But yeah,
no, you never watched The Office. Wow, you're one of the few.
I know, right? It's just not my style, really. I haven't really watched that. But
I hear you.
Yeah, but yeah, no. So it's shown up a couple different places. This place, but yeah, it's Disney's Ranch that they pretty much use, and that's what they.
So cool. Yeah.
We got to get into this cast though. So of course we have Christopher Lloyd. I just put Back to the Future, obviously, which would you believe I had never watched before this year. I just watched it not too long ago.
How funny. You missed it. You know, I don't hold any judgment. It took me a long time to watch that. And honestly, I've seen it, but I need to see it again. I am no Back to the Future expert. It's a little, my memory is foggy, but I didn't see it in full until my 20s, mid to late 20s maybe. So yeah, some of those classics you just miss.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, of course, he's in Clue. I mean,
that I've seen probably 50 times.
That's my thing. Yes, of course. I love him in that. He plays, of course, Dennis Van Welker. Love that. We have Jonathan Jackson, not Joshua Jackson, in this film.
I know.
So playing confusing. Mud. Yeah. He was in Tuck Everlasting.
He's such a cutie.
Yes, he is. Yeah. He was also in General Hospital. I think he's won like a daytime Emmy or something. Like he
he's been on for years. I didn't even realize he was on at this time. I only, as I got older, I knew him when he was more teen, young adult on General Hospital. And now it makes sense because we were talking offline about the cameo with Jeannie Francis and Jonathan Frakes, her husband. They are in this at the end because, and maybe you know this, I had no idea because I didn't really watch General Hospital, and the
Right.
clips I did, I wasn't really following along that well. Jeannie Francis played Jonathan Jackson's mom on the show, so they were friends. Love that. What a fun connection.
And then, of course, like you bring like Riker, like obviously,
Yeah.
Of course.
Of
Also, the fun thing I found out was, do you remember, again, back to Boy Meets World, I guess. Do you remember the episode where Jennifer Love Hewitt's in it, where it's the Scream
iconic
episode?
Where it's like I think it came out right around I Still Know.
Yes.
To promote that.
Yeah,
Yes.
just about that. Yeah. It came out right after I Know What You Did Last Summer and all that. Anyway.
Yeah.
If you remember in that episode, there's Kenny, and it's the guy who gets the pencil like in his head or whatever, and he dies.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy. That's actually Jonathan Jackson's brother. Funny enough,
What's his name? Does he have like a
Richard
twin?
something or other? I don't remember, but he's in the Jackson family with Jonathan Jackson.
Yeah, because I knew there were a few Jacksons. Because I'm like, there's
a couple.
There's a couple, because I'm like, sometimes I get Jonathan Jackson confused with, I might be thinking of, oh my gosh, I talked about him on our friends' video Dropbox on their podcast, The Rage Carry 2. There's Jeremy, oh gosh, but there are twins. Those are the twins.
The Londons.
The Londons, thank you. The London brothers, and then there's the Jackson family.
I see it.
Like they're just like guys of that kind of time, 90s, early 2000s, like kind of cute, white, brunette, like heartthrobby.
Yeah.
So I get those families sometimes confused. But yes, okay, I love that Jennifer Love Hewitt episode. Like that is burned in my brain. So much fun. I've done that episode in some of my acting classes that I run with kids and teens. I'm like, you probably haven't even heard of the show. You're so young, but we're gonna do this fun, scary, quote unquote episode.
It's so good. Oh my god, yes. Then of course you have Wendy McKenna playing Dr. Celeste. She's gone from being a nun in Sister Act 1 and 2 to then being a doctor. Good for her.
Iconic and so dang cute. She is just and still so cute.
She's so gorgeous. I just saw her on The View when I was watching some of the Sister Act 2 things.
Yep.
And she's there with Kathy Najimy, icon. And like literally I'm just like, you still look great, but like
she has not aged. Wild.
She has not aged. And then also from going to, obviously in Sister Act 1 and 2, she's a nun, so she's like dressed down. But bitch, she's not dressed down in this movie. I looked at her, I was like, she's so pretty. Like what
she's hot. And I never had noticed it before. It had been a good few years since I saw this movie, a long time. But I never noticed she like clips the stethoscope to like her pocket. Did you notice that? Like when they're talking outside, I'm like, okay, cool, doc, right?
All right.
But I did look up, and maybe you did too, Jesse. I did look up the age gap between her and Christopher Lloyd.
Oh yeah.
20 years, everybody. Exactly
Wild.
20 years difference. She was only like 35, 36.
Yep.
And he was mid-50s. Although I do have to say, I mean, maybe not the face, but Christopher Lloyd was in good shape. I mean, he was, yes. So it's kind of surprising because he's such an odd face, an odd guy. But I was like, okay, I see it. But 20-year difference. Going back to Jurassic Park, that is some Laura Dern and Sam Neill shit. I mean, what was going on in the early 90s with these couples and these much younger women? Come on, everybody.
Man, that's weird,
right?
but yeah.
She can get someone like, I don't know, 40, maybe
Completely.
not 55, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Just had to say that.
I understand. Then you have Emmett Walsh, who plays T.R. Polk, I think his name is.
Yep.
Who is the collection agent, pretty much, who is trying to get back money that Dennis Van Welker pretty much ran out on for a car he has. And he's just like one of the antagonists, of this movie. You have him, Marnette Patterson, as you stated. She's in Nightmare on Elm Street 5, actually.
How funny.
Enough, she plays Trish, who I love, by the way. It's weird. They kind of like, I don't know if just some of the things she wears in this, I'm just like, okay, she's like a teenager, but she also looks like she's 27. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She kind of like immediately had such a mature vibe.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, that you're like, okay, I know you're young, but like, and also like just her and like Andrew Keegan like making out. It is.
I know.
I understand why Disney did not want their logo on it because, there's just a little like the skinny dipping stuff. There's a few things. I mean, it's so innocent, but yeah,
it is.
I get it where it's like, damn girl, like I know you're like mature, but you're still a kid. Like
you're still a
chill.
kid. You wear a crop top and everything. Okay, listen.
Yep.
And we already just mentioned him, of course, Andrew Keegan, noted cult leader, quote unquote.
It's so wild,
Weird.
Jesse. I missed that news. I literally was looking that up today because, speaking of cult leader, as you I'm sure know, this movie I completely did not realize Allison Mack is in it, and we all know she went to jail for that effing crazy cult.
I watched that whole. I didn't watch the second season of The Vow, but I watched the first season of The Vow,
Me too.
which is that. And she also got married to Nikki Klein, who I don't think Allison Mack is a lesbian at all. Nikki Klein was also another person who is like under Keith Raniere's spell and is a Canadian, I think. They're both Canadian, but But anyway, like. That's a weird one. Anyway, I don't know.
But I had no
Mack's
idea.
lesbian, honestly, I don't know. But
I
whatever.
know. Honestly, like, whatever. She could do whatever, and I'd be like, yeah, I believe it. Whatever.
Okay.
Right? Crazy. And she's so throughout this movie. It was really kind of weird. Like seeing like Marnette like hug her. I'm like, get away from her, Marnette.
And her face didn't change at all.
No,
it's so weird. She looked the same from here to Smallville, and then she just still has the same face. It's weird.
It's weird. Yeah, not one change. I know.
Not one.
But it's just crazy. I completely missed any of the scandal with Andrew Keegan, but I did see, I haven't heard the episode, but they did have him on Pod Meets World, I believe,
because that's one of Danielle's bestest friends is what that is.
Oh, interesting.
I think they grew up together.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, it's funny because Andrew Keegan, I feel like should have gotten more famous. I mean, I feel like most people of this, like most people our age, you know, like know him. They're like, oh yeah, that guy. You might not remember his name, but you remember him. He was such a little stud. And of course, 10 Things, he was so great. He actually was very funny, but he kind of fizzled a bit. And so did he basically deny the cult stuff
He denies
podcast?
it. Yeah, he denies it. And honestly, when you look at it, I don't know if it's an actual like cult. I don't think it's like Jared Leto, I think actually has like a weird like sex traffic cult, to be honest with you.
But something's up with him.
I don't think that it was that. I think really honestly, it's just very woo woo out in like that part of Los Angeles, I think. And I think it really was that like, I don't think it's that it was like a new religion necessarily. I think it was just kind of like off-brand like Hinduism in a weird way. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think it was that he was. And I think they just didn't realize you needed a like liquor license to sell kombucha, and they got raided by the cops. Do you know what I mean? Like it's this thing of like, I don't know if he actually had a cult. Does he have an inflated ego or whatever? I don't know. Every actor does. Like like let's be real here. But like you know, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know if he's as insidious as Keith Raniere. You get what I'm saying?
God, I would be so sad if he was. I'd be really bummed because, like I said, he was great. But, you know, looking him up, like we were saying, he's one of the actors where I'm like, ooh, you know, and I do feel like cult people don't often age well. I don't know. Like just the stuff they're doing, the stuff they're drinking. And I don't want to judge anyone, but he just is looking weathered for only like 45. That's not that old, you know? So he's been out in the desert praying to whoever for maybe too much in the sun. Knows? I don't know, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I agree. But he, you know, is a big part of this movie. Obviously, he's a literal big part of it. But then you have some other random people too. You've Thomas F. Wilson, who apparently Christopher Lloyd said that he would do the movie if he could be in the movie.
Yeah, how funny.
Which makes sense, I guess, if that's your friend.
Yeah.
It's small role. He's a police officer, whatever.
He's got some fun stuff to do. Yeah. I love the whole like scene where he's interrogating them and the donut falls and when the kids are hiding upstairs. Very fun. Yeah.
Very fun. Yes. And then some of the other kids that are in here. This is the film debut of Jessica Alba.
How funny.
Billionaire.
Yes. And she's another one. You can tell immediately it's her. It's so funny. And she's so tall. Yeah.
I think she had probably just done. She had done this, and I think she had done Secret World of Alex Mack as well. She was in that little show too. Yeah. But you know, it makes total sense.
But it's interesting because she has a character's name I saw online. It's
I
Gail,
think it's Gail. Yeah.
But I don't think she has one line.
She has like one line when they're like,
one?
I think she has one where it's like something about the money, not the money mud, but it was more like it's like when they're in the darkness, I think.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Okay. Yeah, because like she's basically, just a featured extra, which is what she was hired to be, apparently, originally. And then I guess someone had to drop out. So maybe that's when she became Gale. She had that one line. Yeah.
Yeah. There you
but then
go.
you don't really see her too much towards the end. I feel like we saw her for a good amount. So some kids must have just been booked for like 2 weeks. And it's like, the last week or two, we'll just use whoever we have,
Right. Then, of course, we already talked about Hilary Tuck. She's Betty Stoller, obviously, in this.
Yeah.
So fun. We then have the one guy in here, one of the children of color in this film, for very white film, but that is Joshua G. Mayweather, I believe. That's him. He's Walter.
Walter's so fun.
Yeah, he's fun too. But yeah, so then you have that. We'll get to Peter Scolari in a minute. But yeah, we then have Heather DeLoach. You know who she is, right?
The name sounds so familiar. Which one is Heather DeLoach?
So she is Eileen in this movie, but she is actually the little girl who's in the bee costume in the No Rain, the Blind Melon music video.
Oh my God. Okay, I just looked her up.
Yeah.
Yes. I know her. And you know what? I know her best from a movie I've talked about on my show, The Beautician and the Beast, a few years later.
With Fran Drescher, yes.
Yes, because I see her in this movie. I'm like, wait, what is her name? How do I know her? And now it just finally clicked. Yeah, she had a bit of a time for sure.
Hilary Tuck even said, I think even Hilary Tuck said on the podcast when they covered, when she was on there talking, she was like, oh yeah, I did Camp Nowhere. And she was like the most famous, one of those famous. Makes sense. She was on MTV all the time because that music video was a thing. Like, yeah. Makes sense.
It's even her. It's so funny on IMDb that she's in the bee costume and that's her main
that's
photo.
What people know her for. Yeah,
totally.
We also have Mookie Arizona in
I
this
love
movie.
him.
Don't worry, we are covering it soon enough next month.
Oh my God, you're covering House Arrest?
Yup, we're covering House Arrest.
Oh my God, I am so jealous.
My sister loves that
House
movie.
Arrest. Oh my God, it's one of my favorites, Jesse. I'm so jealous.
I kind of don't love it.
Okay, I mean, I haven't seen it in years, but
right.
It was a repeat view for me as a kid.
And I think that's what it was. So I always make the joke of like, remember this? This person was also in House Arrest, and it's kind of a joke, but like. I think we're covering it because, what baby wants, baby gets.
Yeah.
And it's September. That's her birthday month. So I was like, okay.
Fun.
I think I'm going to cover it. And also, I can't lie. It is a cult movie. People don't know about it.
You have two major Scream Queens. I mean, one wasn't a Scream Queen yet, but you have Love and Jamie Lee Curtis. And wait, am I wrong? Is Jennifer Tilly? Yes. And you have three Scream Queens. Oh,
she's Jennifer Love Hewitt's mom.
That's right. Movie. Oh my God, that's right. Oh, it's such a fun, wild movie. I mean, that movie's kind of unhinged.
It is.
I just always hear, Jamie Lee, we know, can scream in all of her movies, but in that one, she is just going off. She is off the rails.
Yeah. I need to maybe watch it again. Maybe I'll appreciate it more, but I'm just like, why do you have to have this weird, divorce drama in the middle of this? But whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But the 90s of that was the end of how movies were really weird. Some filmmakers just threw a whole bunch of things in it and it was wacky and wild, but then it would get somehow serious. There were all sorts of twists and turns. So
agreed for sure. Then we got to talk about some of these adults again. Peter Scolari. I mean, he is Bud's dad in this movie. He then was also Wayne Zielinski in the TV show version of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Hilary Tuck and Thomas Dekker and all. Also the mom, I don't remember her name, Barbara something. She's actually the mom of, do you watch the Chucky show on Sci-Fi?
I've seen the first season. I'm so behind. I really need to catch up.
Remember the little blonde girl who's a bitch to everybody?
Yeah.
That's her mom, actually, funny enough.
Oh, really?
3 kids. But yeah, the mom from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, had 3 daughters or something, and they're all actresses.
Oh my gosh, how funny. Okay, I know that mom. I can picture her. That's interesting.
Oh, Barbara Allen Woods. I think that's her name. Or Barbara Allen something or other. Yeah.
Okay.
Look it up, everybody.
How funny. Yeah, Barbara. Oh my gosh. Yeah, she looks, and now that you say it, yeah, totally. I see her. That's so great. I love it. I love how, just connecting the dots, in the film world. I love it. It's always fun.
Back to Peter Scolari, though. I mean, he is just so, he's really
such
good
a-
in this role.
He's so good. He's so good in everything. And you know, he went on to
is.
do Girls as
He's
Hannah's dad, and he's just so good. It's so sad that he passed away. The theater I was working at for a little while here in Maine, he wasn't in one of the shows that we did that I did when I was there, but a couple years prior he did one, and he passed away, and we did a tribute post for him. People love him. He's just such
God.
He just seems like such a nice guy, you know? Like, what a good guy.
It's so crazy because like people don't, I think people now remember, but like, bro, he was literally the other guy in Bosom Buddies with Tom Hanks.
I know. Like he's a true icon. We forget that sometimes.
Like he went, and he, I think, even probably outperformed Tom Hanks. Let's be real. But,
I mean,
like, you know, they were like, they're equals to me. I'm just like, they're funny. Like, oh my God. Yeah. Rest in power, King. We love him. And
I love that Tom Hanks brought him back for
oh yeah, he
That
always
Thing You
had
Do.
him in stuff.
He would pop him in things. Yeah. So I love their friendship. Yeah.
And
Great
Hillary talks about it as well, because like, of course, this is one of her first movies, and they would end up being on a TV show together. And she just talks about how he was just such a class act. You know what I mean? He remembered her from being in Camp Nowhere when they were on the TV show, and just like how to be on a set and how to be like, you know, how to do that, you know, for example, like sending thank you notes to this crew and stuff, you know, after you wrap, and like, you know, just being classy, you know, and I think that's like, it just does not happen all the time. You don't get those people, and when you lose them, you're like, oh, that sucks. But he seemed like such a sweet man, and he is so good in this. We also got to talk about the one and only, I think she's Trisha's mom, Kate Mulgrew. Come on, like
Kate Mulgrew, how funny! And she doesn't have much to do, but man, she commands that screen time.
So
you know?
good, so good. Like, oh my God! Like, of course, she's from Orange is the New Black. She plays Red.
And she was on Star Trek for a while, much like
Literal
Jonathan
Captain.
Frakes. And Christopher Lloyd, I think, was even in. He has some. I'm not a Star Trek guy, so but I know he was like in one of the movies. I think at this time,
I think so too.
Definitely a Star Trek connection here with this movie.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And then also, kind of one of the random, like, I guess cameos, if you will, is the owner of this commune / camp, and that's Burgess Meredith, and he of course is prolific actor, most well known for being in the Twilight Zone episode Time Stands Still, I think, or something like that.
Oh, is that him? Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that's what people know.
And he was
him.
the Penguin on the original Batman show, which was just so, I mean, talk about camp. Wow. So good.
Oh my God, yes, of course. But yeah, he was in one of the very famous episodes of Twilight Zone and all this. I'm looking for it right now just to see what it is. It's one of the early ones too.
Let me look it up too. I know he was nominated for an Oscar for Rocky, which I still have never seen.
That's what people know him for too. Yeah, for sure.
Rocky's a big one. But yeah, he was around for years. What a guy.
Oh yeah, he's Henry in I think it's Time Stands at Still, or Time Still, whatever. I don't remember what it's called. But it's the one where he breaks his glasses at the end. That's the big one.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's really good.
There were so many really interesting, iconic episodes of that show. It's wild.
I love that show so much.
Yeah.
It's so good. But anyway, so yes, that is a little bit about he's just in here. He doesn't have much to do, like you were saying, but you know, he
worked one day. He's right. He owns the old camp, right? That's him, and he's telling them stories. Yeah, love it. What a fun, kind of random, because I don't know what he was really doing at this time. I don't know if he was in any other big movies in like the early 90s or anything.
Not really, because he died like 3
just a couple years later, right? Yeah.
In 97. So he died not that long after. So this is probably one of his last roles, really. Let's look real quick on his Wikipedia. Let's just see. He had done a few other things. His last one was actually Grumpier Old Men, which is the sequel to Grumpy Old Men.
Oh my gosh. And wow. Okay, do you want to this just brought me back. His last actual credited appearance, you're right, Grumpier Old Men. He did that one, and then his last thing on IMDb is this very creepy computer game that I had. I didn't realize he's in it, called Ripper. And it played, I remember the beginning of it. It was like a modern day, very techie for 1996.
Sure.
Very techie, modern day Jack the Ripper computer game with real like actors. Christopher Walken, Karen Allen. He was in it. And I remember the beginning of it was
Paul Giamatti's in that? What the hell?
Oh, is he? Paul Giamatti? Oh my God, you're right. Wow, I don't remember him.
Love
wow,
that.
all different people. It was really cool, and it creeped me out. I didn't get very far, I remember. But it was very green, very creepy. But the beginning that you would like watch before you start playing was this young woman getting murdered in the streets of whatever city, and they were playing "Don't Fear the Reaper." And of course I had I had just discovered Halloween, and they played "Don't Fear the Reaper," so I was just like, whoa, this is like I love horror, So wow.
Oh, completely.
Really brought me back to that game. How funny he's in that.
Oh,
there you go.
Also fun little thing if you didn't know, the Twilight Zone movie back from the 80s, infamous, but was really good. He's also a narrator in that. So
wow,
uncredited.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I always wonder why people don't get credit.
Sometimes they don't take it. So like that's just what happens.
It's just so interesting, because like sometimes it's a mistake and an error, and then sometimes. I just wonder why. Like, was it there? Like, I still to this day am so like, why was Henry Winkler not credited for Scream? Like, did he say like, don't put me in?
Right.
And if so, like, why? It's so weird.
Or like in Tusk, I think Johnny Depp is uncredited in that movie. If I'm not mistaken.
You're right. I forgot. Yeah, he's in that. Yeah.
The other one that I think is fun. I mean, listen, I'm making a podcast about this television show. Listen, Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Melissa Joan Hart, she has 2 uncredited things. One in Can't Hardly Wait, and the other one is in Not Another Teen Movie. And she said,
a minute. She's not credited in Can't Hardly Wait?
No, she's not. She's not at all when you think about it. Because I think even on her IMDb, it says uncredited. And she was like, I think she talked about it on her podcast. She was like, yeah, I did that. She almost, she was like, she didn't die on set, or she didn't almost die on set, but like she did fall in a pool a bunch, and she like got really cold. Makes sense. But anyway, but she talks about how she was uncredited because she was like, I wanted people to just be like, I didn't want them to know it was me. I just wanted them to go and be like, which makes sense. She fits in that, obviously.
Okay.
And then
interesting. Wow.
And then the camp of her being in like Not Another Teen Movie when she herself was a teenage witch, and then also was in a teen movie, not a great teen movie, but a teen movie nonetheless. Like it's just very funny to me.
Wow.
But so
that's
there's reasons I'm sure that aren't hopefully like. I don't want to get in trouble with SAG, you know what I mean, for being in a non-union thing or whatever. I mean,
but these movies are that does happen, but these movies Can't Hardly Wait and
those are obviously SAG projects, so
definitely, So it's interesting because I totally understand when you're credited in the end credits, but of course you're not like marketed, you're not on the poster. They want to kind of keep you a secret. Yeah, it's funny to me, but
weird.
Cool. Okay. Wow.
Anyway,
see, I just learned something, and I love Can't Hardly Wait. I had no idea.
Too. It's so good.
It's so good.
But in terms of the cast and all that, that's pretty much everybody. But it's stacked. It's so stacked.
It's stacked. Yeah. Lots of future, like you said, lots of future faces that people
would know, right?
And then unfortunately a few people that are so good, but kind of fizzled a bit. Like even Marnette Patterson. I loved her in the show a few years after this.
Yeah.
It was around 1999, 2000. It was on the WB. I think it was it called like Hollywood Stars? It was like her and Harry Hamlin, and it was a bunch of like siblings of famous people that were also actors. They were just like B level actors, but it was just this fun half hour, at the height of the WB, set in Hollywood. And I was a kid, and I was a child actor. So
was
I was
it
like,
Movie Stars?
Is that what it was called? Movie Stars. Yeah. Not Hollywood Stars, Movie Stars. Yeah. It was short lived. I think Lisa Rinna popped in and then out because of course her Harry Hamlin, husband.
Oh, obviously.
But, yeah, it was just like a fun little, and I'm sure there were like lots of future stars in that one as well. But I always think of, when I hear her, I think of that show. That's like, this and that show were like the two big things for Marnette for me,
Yeah. She also played in a TV movie where I think she was Jane Powell or something, but she was in Liz, the Elizabeth Taylor story.
Oh,
1995. Ooh.
Wow. Good for you, Marnette.
Also,
okay.
How the hell old was she in this? Okay. She was born in 1980, so she was Girl, you're telling me that this hoe was 14 years old,
Wow.
like 13, and she looked like that? Okay, girl.
She grew up. Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
I just hope.
I'm not mad
you
at her
know.
for it. I'm just saying, I just was like, okay, like,
Yeah.
because I literally thought she just looked older, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, she was 13. Like, she just
Wow.
looked old for her age.
She's like truly taller than Jonathan Jackson.
that.
She's
too.
like a whole
just
head
is
above
tall.
him, you know?
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
How tall is this girl? Oh my god. Anyway, yeah, she's so pretty too. She was an American
She's such a
Sniper, I
cutie.
think. Yeah.
Yeah, how interesting. And I've only seen that once. I don't really need to see it again, but I feel like I did recognize her. And again, thought about this movie. But yeah, it's just interesting that she's not, I feel like she's like such a Hallmark girl or something, or a TV show, or
She should
you
be
know,
if she isn't
right?
already.
Yeah, I feel like she should do some of that stuff.
There's different people who I'm like, yeah, you need to get your Hallmark bag. Like, do the
Right.
Lisa Bear of it.
Totally.
I will. First off, people who, okay, this is not a Lisa Bear podcast, but I'm just saying, like, people want to say, like, oh, Lisa Bear can't act. Da, 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 da. I'm like, did you
No.
not see Party of Five? Like, I mean, she's a perfectly fine actress. Like, she's not
Oh, yeah.
terrible.
And honestly, rewatching Mean Girls this year for my show, because of course it
She's
just turned
great
up
in
at
it.
20. She might be, honestly, I mean, Rachel McAdams is, they all are firing
They're all
on
really
all cylinders.
good.
But Lacey Chabert, in my opinion, is the true MVP of Mean Girls.
Yes.
She has some of the best lines, and boy, does she deliver them. So
Yeah, so I don't want to
Lacey
hear
is
this.
Very good.
I don't want to hear
And
this.
Lacey's
like,
got more money than all of us. So with her Hallmark
literally.
money,
I
so-
literally was like, I don't want to hear the thing of like, oh, well, you know, she must do Hallmark movies because she can't act. I'm like, no, she's getting her bag. Like, she literally, you know, she has pull at that studio too. You already know.
Oh yeah, she's now like, yeah, she's not only, you know, lead, but she's also producing these movies. Yeah,
Literally.
she found her niche, and I say, good for it, girl. Go.
Good for her, and I'll never let her forget that she was in the Black Christmas remake.
Oh,
never
of
in
course.
life.
Are you kidding? Such a fun movie. If you ever talk about that, let me know, because we.
I think
have you already talked about it?
No, I mentioned it in the sorority horror episode. We did talk about that with me and Pickens, obviously. But I have not covered it. I don't think so. Yeah, maybe I need to do a symposium with you and Pickens or something. I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
Bunch of homosexuals talking about how fabulous this movie is.
I mean, it's a very homosexual movie. I mean, come on.
It really is.
It is one of the gayest ones out there.
It really is, dude. Anyway, but yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Camp Nowhere, I guess.
Yes, let's bring it back.
Let's bring it back. But yeah, with Camp Nowhere, I mean, like, if I may ask, I guess. So, what were your like experiences with camp? I'll talk about mine first, I guess, because I think you have a little more experience. I did not go to camp because we were poor. We didn't have that much money. So I couldn't like just go to a camp. And then plus also Baltimore, I don't really know. I mean, I know they probably have them. It's just like, it's gotta be, but like, yeah, we just didn't have that. I'm also not the camping girl either. Like, I'd just be like, why can't I like plug this thing in and like have like whatever, you know what I mean? I can't live off the land. It's not, unless I had to for like, because I live on the street now. Like, I'm not like
You can do it for like a long weekend, but like multiple weeks, like that's tough, kids. Come on.
No, I can't do that and whatever. I, funny enough, tried to be like a little camp counselor. We used to have this thing where it was this place called Harford Glen, and it was like something where little kids would go there and do a little like week-long thing. And I tried to be a counselor there, even though I do not really care for children like that. But I just thought like, oh, my friends are doing it, so I'll do it, even though like they all had like younger siblings and were used to children, and I was like, no, I have an older sibling, what the hell? But I didn't end up doing it. So, but that was like, I mean, I didn't go there when I was a kid or anything. I don't think I was I don't remember. I don't think my school participated in it, so we never did it because it was something kids would do in the area. But there was that. And then the closest thing I ever got to was like, I did a week-long journalism workshop in the University of Maryland, College Park. Back when I thought I wanted to be a journalist, you know.
Love it.
I was on the newspaper in my high school, and I was able to scrounge up something, I don't remember, like some sort of scholarship or something, because again, I didn't have money. We scrounged something up where I got a scholarship or something, and I was able to go to UMD for a week. And this was at the same time Michael Jackson died, and also Farrah Fawcett died.
Yeah,
And
that was a big day. Oh my gosh. I remember I was on set working on a movie called The Bounty Hunter with Jennifer Aniston and Gerard Butler that day. Wow. So wait, you were in high school then?
I was in high school. This was the summer of high school.
So young.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did that, and I remember we were going to, because we live in we were in Maryland, and we were in College Park, and I don't know if you know this, but USA Today is right in Virginia, where you could travel to it.
Oh,
that was literally where we went. That was where we went. We went to USA Today.
That's
where I learned how to use Audacity for the first time. Fun little fact.
Oh, really?
Shit like that. It's really interesting because whatever. Anyway, so because I learned how to do multimedia stuff there.
Oh, that is so cool. And now, so you didn't spend. You would come back home every night?
No. I was there for a week. I was staying in the dorms. Yeah.
Wow.
When I was 16.
That is so cool. I love that so much. That sounds great.
In literal UMD College Park before they changed the Philip Merrill College of Journalism and all this. We had the old building and everything. It was UMD. Yeah. It's where Jim Henson went and
wow,
these different places or whatever. Anyway, but yeah, we went to USA Today the day that happened, and I don't think our speaker, I don't think she knew what we were doing. She didn't know, we were having a speaker, right? And she was talking about something or other. And I don't think she realized that she said something about UMD or whatever. And I don't remember what it was. I thought she was I thought she was a little stupid, because I was just do you not know that you're doing a talk for kids that are literally at UMD right now? Do you not realize you're talking about UMD as if we don't already know?
Yeah,
that's
where we
option.
Are. Yeah,
we're there. It's all foggy in my mind. But anyway, I just remember that. And that was my closest thing to a camping thing. I consider it because I did have to go away from home. I don't maybe consider my study abroad a camp, but I still went away from home.
Yeah, where'd you study abroad?
Berlin, Germany for 3 weeks when I was in college. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I never studied
fun.
abroad in college. I missed that. I was too focused on getting out of school as quickly as
I
possible.
had to for my school. I had to for my college. We had to study abroad. So
it was a requirement. Wow.
It was a requirement.
Okay.
Yep. So it was the last thing I did before I got my diploma sent to me, because I had already graduated. I already went to graduation, went to commencement. I think it was Bill Cosby was not my speaker. No. I don't think it was. No, he was a speaker. He was a speaker at another college in Baltimore, in the early 2010s before that all hit.
Yeah.
And I think ours was Barbara Mikulski was there, and I don't remember if Bill Nye was there. Bill Nye came in years later, where he was a speaker at my school for one of the graduations. I don't remember who mine was, but whatever.
Okay.
But I had literally graduated, did not actually get my diploma that day, and then literally the next day I went to Germany.
Wow.
For 3 weeks.
That's so funny. And did you have to just take one class or something?
Oh yeah, we were taking German class, because I took German and stuff. So I took German class there. We went on tours. It was really cool. I loved it. It was really fun. And it was my one time. It was my one time going abroad, and I'm just even if I never go abroad again, this is fucking amazing.
Oh, you'll go again. You got to go.
I'd love to. Yeah, I need to get my passport renewed. But
definitely.
I would like to. It'd be nice.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, but
at least Canada or Mexico. They're close. You can do it.
I want to go to Canada. That'd be fun. And then I'd even go back to I would go back to the UK. That'd be kind of fun.
Oh, and Spain is amazing.
Oh yeah, maybe that'd be cute. I don't speak Spanish, but or
you'll be fine
or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell me a little bit about your camping experiences though, because I know you have more than I do. And I think you've
only
also
a little bit
worked. More. You've had worked at a camp, right?
Yes.
That's something you also do. So I want to hear a little bit about that.
So yeah, growing up for me, I'm just like you, Jesse. I did not really do sleepaway camps, and honestly, I was not really interested in them. I would be fine being in the woods, that didn't worry me. I was just so nervous, and maybe because I was a young queer kid, I don't know, but I was so truly deathly nervous and scared of showering with other people. I just didn't want people to see me. I 100%. Didn't want to be that was such a fear. So I was just always worried about like, well, what's the bathroom situation at camp? Like I wanted like a stall with a door and like, so, but growing up, I went to a lot of day camps. That's one day camp in particular. I think it was the summer after third grade. I learned what sex was on the bus going to, I think the movies or something. So lots of like, kind of like the YMCA kind of day camps, a lot of fun stuff. So I was doing that for years. And then I worked, then throughout middle school, every summer, I would do our town summer theater camp, which was like, iconic. Like it was a big deal. It was like such a rite of passage for anyone interested in performing arts at all in the area. So that was always fun. And then so I did that for like 4 years. And then I worked as a camp counselor at that summer theater camp 3 years in a row. And I really didn't do much because like it was musical theater and that's not really my bag. I'm more, when I teach, I just teach like regular acting. So like it was kind of just getting paid to like, paint a few things, like yell at a few kids. But yeah, and that was all day camp. That would be from like 9 to 3 every day. So there was no traveling, So I didn't really come into contact with sleepaway camp for real until I was definitely an adult. And I got married at a sleepaway camp in Maine, this amazing Camp Jordan, part of the YMCA, an amazing special place right on this lake, not far from Acadia National Park. If anyone out there knows where that is, it's on the way there. But Camp Nowhere was one of the posters that we printed out because we took over the cabin. We had the entire place to ourselves for the weekend. And each cabin, we put up a movie poster that was a movie that either took place at camp or had some fun scenes at camp. So everything from The Parent Trap to Addams Family Values to Camp Nowhere. And I was looking this morning, I was like, because we still have all of our old files like on Google Drive. I'm like, who did we assign to Camp Nowhere cabin? Because I see all these other like, sleepaway camp, cabin fever. And then I realized my husband and I were like, oh, Camp Nowhere was like the one additional cabin where if anyone like didn't like the people that we paired them up with, because these
like
were big cabins, but it was the overflow. And we figured Camp Nowhere, like you're out there nowhere, you're the last one. So I don't know if anyone even used it. I mean, I kind of hope, I don't know, maybe someone hooked up. I have no idea. But so that was like the sort of like extra cabin, but we had that poster up and I printed out a few pictures of each movie to put on the back of the door. And I found those pictures. Oh my God. So like a couple key moments from the movie. But so that was that. And then just last year, and it's coming up again in a couple weeks, but I'm not going this year. Last year, if anyone out there, by the time this is out, it'll already probably have been done, but there is an annual gay adult camp called Camp, and it runs for a week, and it's in Maine, and this is its 26th year, I believe. So my first year was its 25th, which was pretty cool. My husband and I went, and it's a really cool, amazing. I mean, it was hard, like you said, Jesse. Like we had outlets and everything in the cabin, but I mean, you're bunking with like 15 to 20 people, and these are grown adults, and there's snoring, and there's coughing, and there's only a few toilets with curtains. I mean, it was a little rough for me. There were times where I'm like, I think I might have to leave. But I stuck it through, and I taught the acting classes there because you can be staff. And it was so much fun. So if anyone out there wants to ever try Camp, just say Mark J. Parker sent you, and you can have my referral. But yeah, it's coming up again soon at a new camp in Maine. But that was my true, like for real, first sleepaway camp. Because when we were there for the weekend for our wedding back in 2016 at a different camp, it was like a long weekend. You're there from Friday to, I think, Monday. And it was like, it's part of the fun. It's like a little vacation. But when you're there for like 7 or 8 nights, I mean, it's more than a vacation. You're there like really, you're a camper. So it's not for everyone. But after a while, it's pretty cool. So that's my camp experience.
That's fair enough. I like that. I also like how I was going to ask, like, did you have sleepaway camp as one of the bunks? Because, I would have to revoke your marriage at that point.
Oh no. Yeah. We put some of our good friends in the sleepaway camp. I printed out that iconic image at the end of the movie on the back of the door, Wet Hot American Summer. Like
that's a good one too.
All different good, camp or cabin related.
Yeah. Wish you could have put, maybe it would have been, well, I don't actually know if I like The Burning. It's like a fine movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still have never seen it. And it's so funny, Jesse. I actually want to watch it since I can't go to camp this year. I'm going to watch it during the camp
bad.
week. Yeah, it looks fun. Right?
No, it's not terrible. Yeah.
That one was a little bit too much of a deeper cut, I think, for our crowd, So, but it was on my list. And I wanted to make sure it was movies either I or my husband Greg had seen.
Did y'all have a Friday the 13th cabin?
Oh yeah, we had Friday the 13th
yeah.
right by the lake. Oh yeah, we had It Takes Two, iconic.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that's a good
come
one.
on, you know. So yeah, we had like a whole bunch of really fun. Those were most of them. Heavyweights, which you and I have talked about.
Oh yes.
That was, and I remember, I'm pretty sure, I forget who, but we had put some of Greg's family in that one, and I feel like someone had asked us, and they were like half joking. They're like, "Did you put?" Like, are we supposed to be offended? And I was like, no, it's a great movie. I mean,
no, it's like it's these like kids, like these
right. They're taking over another one of these movies where, but I could understand, like, and of course, like we've said, fat camp is such a gross, awful thing. And thank God it seems like it does not exist. Thank God those really like,
I think it still exists. It's just it's gotten a makeover. But no, it's true for sure.
But they were like, should we be offended? And I'm like, no, it's one of the best camp movies. What are you talking about? Go in there and go to sleep.
No, it actually is like I haven't seen it, but if it has Ben Stiller, if it has Ben Stiller in it, like he is
so funny. He's so funny as this deranged fitness guy. Because we forget that Ben Stiller has always been in like pretty amazing shape. Like Zoolander, like that guy's always in good shape. So you really see he's like this insane fitness instructor.
Love
and
that.
Paul Feig, before he became a director making hits like Bridesmaids, he's in it. It's such a fun one. So if you ever talk about that,
Mr. Poole from Sabrina, yes, that guy.
Yes, yeah, you're right. He's in Sabrina. Yeah, I might have to add Heavyweights to my episode list next year.
Do it.
And by the way, I didn't get a chance to say, but congrats on the new spin-off pod, the Sabrina one. When are you going to start that?
September, so next month from when you're hearing this. I've been recording and stuff. Yes, it's going to be interesting. I want it to be weekly.
Wow,
we'll see.
That's tough. I used to do a weekly podcast, and man, that burned us out.
I still do, but like at the same time, having both of them, it's going to be interesting. But we'll see. I think it'll be shorter episodes.
Yeah, especially if is the plan to do like one episode, one Sabrina episode per your episode kind of thing?
Pretty much, yeah.
I have nothing but like such great memories of TGIF, either rushing home from whatever, coming to my house or going to a friend's house and watching Sabrina, like nothing but total comfort on a Friday night. I mean, love it.
We'll talk about oh God, because that show goes off the rails after like season 5 or
I remember it moved to the WB, which was so random.
That's when it goes off the rails.
Yeah, and that's when some of like, and how Buffy moved to UPN. Like when shows switch networks, it's when there are new like people involved, and it's like, what's going on? So I could see. I don't think I continued it when it went to the WB. It looked almost too like flashy, sexy, like it looked too slick. And I was like,
they were trying to give it the Felicity treatment a little bit.
Totally, which I get, but I'm like, Sabrina, we already have like a well-established like look and vibe, like
sure,
So I could see it kind of fizzling.
Yeah, totally. But it lasted 3 years on that thing, boo. I mean, shit. But anyway, so I have that coming up, and that'll be cool. But I love that for you though. Don't love the Cabin Fever cabin necessarily. I don't love that movie, but I mean,
okay, yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I put some of my horror-loving friends in that one, and a bloody face on the door. Oh, I know, and see Ryder Strong connection, and I'll never forget seeing Ryder Strong's hairy armpits in that movie. I was like, damn, you
are scandalized.
Crazy. I was like, whoa, that's a lot of hair. I mean, you did not even trim. Okay.
But Serena Vincent is really awesome, and like Jordan Ladd, obviously. I mean, of course.
Some great
girls. One guy, God, what's his name? James DeBello in Detroit Rock City.
Oh yeah, he had a moment there for a while. Yeah, and then he
was an asshole in that movie, but he's way better in Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, Eli Roth at that time was so like that was a time in horror, and I know we're really going on a tangent, but at least for that, I feel like a lot of the dialogue was just kind of like a lot of the jokes were like mean,
Yeah.
And luckily we like kind of got past that because I feel like Scream maybe really kind of started that where like they make fun of each other, but Scream dialogue is just on a whole nother level.
It's different. It's a lot smarter than Eli Roth could do.
Yes. So I could see why it's like where.
Yeah. Anyway.
But
But yeah, I love your camp experiences though, because I mean that's fair, totally. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I
you know,
mean,
speaking of John Waters, I forgot to say, our beloved John
yes.
Waters, he has his Camp John Waters, which does sound really fun.
It does
Every
sound very
year,
fun.
I guess they get him to Connecticut. And this year, the camp counselors are Melanie Griffith and I think Mink Stoll and maybe someone else. But it does sound really fun. And it's only like 3 or 4 nights. It's a little more doable. So
I would love if
that
they
could be really
do
fun.
that. It would be really fun.
If they do get expensive, which is, you know.
I'm sure. But I also think like it would be really fun. It would have been really fun if they could have gotten, because I don't know what she's doing currently, but because Longlegs is such a thing, having Alicia Witt come from one of those, I think would be really fun.
That would be cool. I love that she's having a resurgence. Did you see Longlegs yet?
I did not see Longlegs. I'm probably gonna wait for it to stream, but I've heard, but I know the twist. I spoiled myself, which is fine. But you know, because I'm okay with that. But
but she's great. She's always been great.
No, she is. She seems really great in it, and I hate Urban Legend, the character in Urban Legend. I don't hate her. I know, but I hate
it's a fun movie. But
her.
yeah, she's something. Yeah, I know. She's one of the more just kind of whiny, mopey leading ladies, final girls. Yeah, I hear.
But
you.
in her other roles she's good. Like her in Last Holiday is really fun. And
fun! I've never seen that one. Okay, that's
you should watch it. It's fun. That and like obviously she's really good in Longlegs from what people say.
She's so good.
And also like in fucking Sesame Demented, like she plays one of the Sprockets, and she's really fun in that. So like that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I wish it would have been, but Melanie Griffith, obviously amazing. But like,
it seems like each year they switch it up. So maybe she's already done one, or maybe she will. But
she should. Like in my opinion, like I think she'd be down for it. She also I think lives in Nashville, so she's on the same coast technically.
She's a musician.
So, you know, like good for her. I think I'd be down for it. But anyway,
and another quick John Waters thing I completely forgot until right now. Another little connection is our girl Kathleen Turner is actually in Maine, or she will be in a couple weeks. She's doing a show at the theater I used to work at. She's the lead in a little night music. I saw that like post and I was like, are you kidding me? Wow. So if I didn't, get laid off and hate the theater, I would go. But sadly, I will not go. But Kathleen Turner, love that you're still doing it and doing a show. I mean, a 100%. Musical like 8 times a week, girl. Love it. So
I
just
love
had
that for her.
Give that little shout out there.
Yeah. But I think like, in terms of like Camp Nowhere, I guess, again, this is all about camp.
Yes.
It is about camp. This is all relevant to me. Do you have any like particular like standout scenes or anything in this movie that you're just like, oh my God, they just like burned in my brain?
Yeah.
That you wanted to like point out?
So I took some notes. Let me tell you, some of the big, most memorable scenes are, I love when they are doing the awful prank that then gets Mud hurt, gets him injured. But I feel like Camp Nowhere to me, like such an iconic moment is them like skating, rollerblading off the dock into the water. It just looks so cool, so badass. Of course, they put put fireworks in Mud's helmet, which I'm like, okay, this is so unsafe, you idiots. But that of course leads to him getting hurt. But I just love that moment. Like I said, I love the moment with Thomas Wilson as the sheriff, as the cop. He's inside the house, and a bunch of the kids are up in the rafters, and the donut falls, and Mud catches it perfectly. Like that was always such a fun, exciting moment where like the kids are, trying to be quiet and they have to fake it. What else? I feel like it's not Camp Nowhere without at least a mention of. Not only does this movie have some great montages, just some really fun moments of cutting from thing to thing. I love the montage early on where Christopher Lloyd is dressed up as these different like camp directors, a very Richard Simmons, R.I.P., a very Richard Simmons like, fat camp director, and then just like wooing the parents and getting them on board. I love that whole beat. And then later on the montage of the kids having to actually turn it into like a legit camp because their parents, all want to come. I love that moment. Right. And then that leads to an awesome, just so clever and fun moment where the kids are basically turning the camp into separate camps, like going back to Alice and Mac, like shooting the thing that goes from like Camp Broadway to Camp whatever. Like, I forget the exact details, but they're like, they've set it up in a way where they're just turning it over from military camp to Broadway camp, you know, and having everything set up. I just was like so enthralled as a kid, being like, wow, look at them do all this stuff, you know?
Yeah. And it's them coming together too, you know, to be like, I don't want my parents to find out about this. So like, we're going to work together. Because I think that was the whole thing, is like, the thing about it is that these kids, like, they are wanting the freedom from their parents, and they all come together and they're getting this. But then when Mud has to then say, like, you know, hey, like, we need to actually, like, when he realizes, like, he's not turning into his parents, but he sounds like an adult, he's like, oh shit.
Yep. I know. I love that moment too. I had forgotten about that, but yeah, because like we're saying, the whole theme was no rules, no adults.
Exactly.
I mean, we have Christopher Lloyd, but he's barely an adult, right? But
he's
then,
barely, yeah.
You know, that comes to a point, when Mud says, "Oh my God," you know, what is he? I forget.
He says
you're
something.
Gonna poke your eye out or something. With
he does.
Something,
like he literally says something like that because these kids just aren't listening to him.
I love how the one kid says, "Sniff my butt, toe breath," and that turns into the fight that gets Mud to shut them all up. But I'm turning to my parents, and then they all are like, ew. And that kind of like, you know, dulls things a bit, and we get a little, you know, mopey a little bit, because it's like, no, Mud is turning into like a buzzkill, right? But they learn you kind of need some order. You need some rules. You got to like treat people respectfully. You got to like, you know, you can't hurt yourself, because like when Mud gets hurt, it's you feel like stressed, you know, he can't go to the hospital. They're going to call his parents. We're going to get found out. You know, so then
and somehow the doctor goes along with it too.
Yes.
Like when she finds out,
I know,
like what's all going, and she's just like, well, I guess screw my medical license, I guess, whatever.
I know.
This is I'm like whatever, but
okay, I guess we can just suspend our disbelief, because no, she'd be a little more upset. But okay,
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think this like kind of goes into the wish fulfillment of these types of movies. This movie obviously very much was inspired by something like Home Alone, as many movies were. I definitely think like it is that kind of perfect wish fulfillment for children. Of like, wouldn't it be great if we could just be at a camp where no parents are there? How awesome would that be? And yes, there is something, because I think it's always a thing of like, kids want to just always be older. They always want to be older. That's why when you sound like an old lady, when you're just like, just enjoy your youth. But it's so true. Like, stop trying to grow up so fast. Like, literally, like, just stay being a child. Stay being a kid, because I'll tell you what, like the real world sucks. Okay. We all know it does.
Paying bills, no one wants to do it.
No, like, nobody wants to do that.
The youth is wasted on the young, as they say, right?
Yes. And it's perfect in that, you know, and it's just absolutely, it's just that. I thought I would share some scenes I have. Yes, a lot of those I love like the switches between the camp directors that Christopher Lloyd does. It just shows how talented he is.
Absolutely.
I love the Richard Simmons one so much. He's so funny in it.
So funny.
There's that. And then also some of the other ones. I do love the end of this movie, where it's Hillary Tuck, who's like, the whole thing is that people say that she skinny dips, or she has skinny dipped. And it's the whole thing where like the Walter kid, he's like, she swims up to him and it looks like she's skinny dipping, and she's like, do you have the guts? And then he's all like, oh, I guess I'll take my shorts off.
God,
and then we find out that she's actually not skinny dipping. She has a whole bathing suit on.
She says something like, you fell for it and you don't have a second bathing suit or something like that.
She just walks out of there. It's so funny.
I love that scene so much. And as a kid, when that reveal happens, like, I didn't think it was creepy. Now as an adult, I'm like, okay,
a little bit. She was like 15, so
she seems a little bit older, and she's truly like she's hitting on this kid. They're in the she appears to be naked, and she's like rubbing him. Like, I could understand why Disney's like, okay, like we'll release this, of course. We commissioned it, but like
But we're
not
doing
gonna
Hollywood
put our-
Pictures.
Yeah, we're gonna put it under a different label because yeah, you know, I kind of get it. But man, that reveal when she's just wearing like a strapless bathing suit coming out of the water. Oh my God. I remember my jaw dropped. I'm like, yes, girl, you just tricked Walter.
But it's funny because that's the whole thing, is that like she is kind of, she's not being branded as Hester Prynne or whatever, right? Like that's not the case, but it is very much like the, you know, oh yeah, like she would skinny dip and da 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 da. So like it's being a little sexualized in a way. Not in a, but in a kid way, honestly.
Yeah, in a very innocent way. I would never.
She is just honestly playing to that, where she's just like, do you have the guts to do this? Because I do. And she's just playing on the fact that like, oh, you think I'm going to do this, but like I'm going to give you a taste of your own medicine, kind of a thing, which I think is just very funny.
Oh yeah, be careful what you wish for, right?
Exactly, because then you could just be left in the water. I'm also afraid of standing water like that. I would never in my life just.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I hear you. I'm a little nervous about certain water as well, for sure.
No,
I
would
never. I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get in there and do any. Oh God! Like when you watch some of those Friday the 13th movies, I was like, why are they skinny dipping up in that pond? Like, what is going on here?
I know. I'm always worried. Like, what's gonna try to swim inside me? Like, no, thank you.
Literally, no. I'm gonna get something in my butt. Like, it's gonna be a whole thing, y'all. It's crazy. But anyway, so there's that, and yeah, some of the other ones. Like, I think I love the Tennessee William for Tots, like
yeah,
and like the Annie,
I'm like, what? Yes.
Like they do Annie in it. It's so funny. Oh my God,
I love the line that Marnette Trish says, here's to Rogers and Hammerstein early on when they're doing that.
She's
really, that's another moment I had kind of forgotten, but I love the fire and how like that really starts camp. You know, they're throwing all their boring, annoying parent forced things in the fire, and then they're kind of like becoming like wild children, you know, running around the fire. That's a really fun scene. And my husband was in the room with me watching that moment, and he says the music in that moment is really good. And he says this is the kind of music that plays like when you're like sitting down for a ride at Disney World and it hasn't started yet. And I'm like, oh my God, you're so right. Like that kind of the excitement is building, something's gonna happen. So yeah, I just want to shout out the music for that.
Yeah,
fun
for sure.
fire scene.
For sure. Yeah. And I think like as we were saying, there were some of the big scenes and all that. But like, you know, and of course all the parents come and then they are all sort of tricked for a little bit, but then it all comes out to a head. And, you know, if anything, like there are no consequences in this movie, really. You know, and
they're just like, you're grounded till you're 30, and it's like, like that's it,
right? But you know, like Christopher Lloyd gets the doctor in the end somehow or way. They also get that nice fire ass car that Andrew Keegan apparently like fixed up.
And isn't it so funny? Like, it's just funny how like he's so obsessed with cars. Like when they're doing the awesome little like flashlight, you know, whatever at night, little tag, which, oh my God, I'd be all over that. Are you kidding? And they're like, it's 2 a.m. I'm like, I'm pretty sure when I first saw this, I was like, oh my God, I want to be in the scene so badly. But then how they find this car and immediately he's like, how much money do we have? Let's fix it up. I'm like, you're like 13. What?
Exactly. Like what?
You know? But I guess, it all comes, you know, around full circle, because then off they go in their little Grease moment, just not up in the sky, but they drive off in that fixed up car, right?
Literally.
I just love in that scene when it all comes out and Mud, you know, pulls out the cash of his sock and he explains to everyone this was his idea. I like how, you know, his friends back him up and say, you know, it was my idea too.
Very Spartacus of them.
Yes. And I love how Trish goes, yeah, and I'm stupid too. Well, you know what I mean. Like that always made me laugh as a kid watching that, you know? That's a good line.
Totally. And I mean, it's just this thing of kids having potential and like, don't waste your potential and all this. And yeah, I think most of it can hit. Some of it's just like flat at a point where you're just like,
there are moments where you're like, you don't really need to be like glued to the screen watching. Some of that for me, even as an adult, is a little bit of like the adult stuff. Like,
agreed.
Even still to this day, I don't truly care about Christopher Lloyd and Wendy like getting together.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not all that exciting for for two great comedy actors.
Sure.
You know, maybe a better movie would have had a little bit more comedy and lying between the two of them, like as a subplot, but it's pretty straightforward. So it's, you know, not the most riveting.
Yeah. Agreed.
So yeah, there are little lulls here and there, and also even with the kids, honestly, I don't really care too much about. Like, I do like Mud's romance with Gabby, like how that's sort of that comes in a little late, and it's like, oh, you know, it's like how many of us kind of discover like a crush. It's like, oh wow, we were friends, and I didn't even realize like I actually like you.
Yeah,
but, like
absolutely.
The stuff with Trish and Zach, like I don't really care. Like,
I didn't really care. Right?
I think it'd be more fun if they actually hated each other. You know, that classic like opposites attract, right? So yeah, some of that stuff is. You know, maybe they just needed, I don't know, like a female writer or a queer writer to just do a little revision to kind of beef up those moments. But overall, like the core stuff of the movie, you know, even buying all the beer and luckily,
oh my God, right.
He's there to be dad, like, and with his fake leg, like all the stuff that you're meant to be seeing, the stuff you're there to see, it all I think works pretty well. It's just
totally.
You know, the minor stuff can.
And I think the big thing, I think the big thing too is just like with some of the stuff that doesn't work always. I mean, you know, like nothing too crazy. They do use like the M slur for little people at the beginning, you know, and like
that's true.
When there's that, you know, maybe you wouldn't say that. They don't really throw around the R word, which is cool, I guess, which is surprising for this. Because I'm like, I thought they would.
Glad.
I was like, okay.
That was probably Disney just making sure. I'm sure like some exec was like, all right, you got to remove some of these words. Let's not make it too, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And also like, you know, like we were saying, just the idea of fat camps, like again, like I think they've just gotten a facelift and, you know, they're like a health and fitness camp or whatever. I think they still are around. It's just that they've gotten a facelift, you know, they're new bitch.
Right.
But there's that. And also like some fun things I found out from Hillary Tuck on that episode they did. On This World. So I think she even says that she remembers like when the switch happened from Walt Disney to Hollywood Pictures, because I think they were brought in and like whatever, but I think she even says she remembers that kind of switch when it was like, oh, this is not going to be like a Disney movie proper. It's going to be like under a subsidiary of theirs. I think she even said that. She did say that Christopher Lloyd was not a fan of kids. Okay.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, not in a bad way. I think it was more so because he obviously has scenes with the kids and everything. I just think he was conserving his energy, and I don't think he was like the biggest on kids, probably. When I kind of get it, like he's not. I mean, really, at the end of the day, like he's not playing somebody who is supposed to like super love kids. He's playing the adult. You know what I mean? So for him in like real life, he's probably conserving his energy because this is, I think, supposed to have been his movie. He's the leading dude in this movie. Him and Jonathan Jackson. Yeah. But like, so I see that, but like, it didn't really work out where it would be like a Jim Carrey movie for him. But that's what they wanted him to be. Like from what I kind of gather.
I do have to, and I'm glad you're bringing that up because I do have to shout out. It's such a great scene. I completely forgot about it, but it's so stupid. It's really not necessary. The scene in the car wash. I think that was his like Jim Carrey moment in this movie. I think it was some good physical comedy. He is so great. It was like Teen Witch or
something, but you're like, what is this doing here?
It has nothing to do with anything. I don't even know, like, I feel like I blinked and I'm like, why are we at a car wash? Like, it's so, you can tell they wrote that in once they booked him and they're like, well, let's give him like something more to do to really show off. And don't get me wrong, he is so funny and like how he's going through everything. And then, I mean, it's great. It's just like, this is a different movie. This is so pointless. So, you know, I could feel, now that you bring up Jim Carrey, who was the king of 94, I could feel them being like, quick, let's add this in and shoot it to give Christopher Lloyd his moment. It's just not really necessary.
100%. And so it doesn't surprise me that he probably wasn't the biggest on kids, because I think like once he wasn't having to like be on set, I think he had like a handler who just kind of like took him off set,
Right.
which makes sense.
I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's in most of the things he's done, and especially at this time, with the Addams Family movies, they were right before this. Like, he gives his all. He gives his all. Like, this guy's not holding back. So I get it. Like, in between takes, you gotta just like go back to neutral.
This is a different thing because he is this is a kid heavy movie. But Hillary also said on that episode that Jonathan Prince, who's the director, was fantastic. I mean, he was really able to like wrangle this together because this had to have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
I can
only
it
imagine
could turn into
how
a
exhaustive, how exhausting this crew, like to rope all these actors in. I mean, kid actors are usually more mature than your regular actor, but when you have all these kids in a fun environment,
having been one before, you're like, I get it.
Oh, totally. Like, especially, and even adults. I mean, once you get to talking and then it's like, okay, quiet, I'm sure this was probably not a hard movie, but an exhausting movie to make for everyone, I bet.
100%.
So that's why it is a bummer. It wasn't a little more of a hit. But I mean, we're talking about it for a reason. So it, I'm
trying to think what else there is. So Ryder Strong also said that he remembers, like, I think he auditioned for this role. He auditioned for this movie, probably in Mud's role, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I remember there was the monologue that him and Christopher Lloyd had or something, or it was like Peter Scolari or something. It was like a monologue or like something. He was like, I remember these lines. I remember auditioning for this.
That's so funny.
So it's just so funny how he was like, oh my God, yeah, like totally. I'm trying to think what else there was. And of course it was Disney Ranch, like I was always talking about. God, and then of course, like Marnie Patterson, she went by Marnie, I think. She and little, I think there were like little romances here and there,
Oh yeah. Oh, I love that.
Obviously. So I think she was with
little crushes.
Little crushes, little things here and there, I think she got with like Jonathan Jackson and like somehow Andrew Keegan, obviously,
I mean, Jonathan Jackson, Andrew Keegan's hair looked great, but Jonathan Jackson, that mullet moving all around in the back. Oh my God.
Fucking hair, man.
Oh, the front is great. I get it, but the back.
Ryder Strong was perturbed by that. Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
He was perturbed by that on that episode. He was like, this hair.
This hair. It is moving. Oh my God. It's not good.
Bro, it is. Oh, that was 94, man. But
I know.
Oof. Anyway, but yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular. Also, just like just some of the things, like I think Hillary has 2 kids and she talked about how like she watched it with her kids. She thought it was really fun. She then watched it by herself. And like, for example, like just some of the things with like, buying the alcohol and like how that was in this movie and just like some of the other like random things where you're like, huh. Yeah. What to wonder. Oh, also the other thing too was that like you have to remember, and you having worked on film sets probably know this, any of this stuff with water, that water was cold as fuck. Like,
oh man,
like when she's at the end and she's like in the water with Walter, it's cold. And also when they are spraying each other with water all over the place, it's cold.
I would hate it.
Literally, like, yes, everybody, that's movie magic for you. But yeah, it was. But yeah, no, I think if anything, a lot of the folks I think Jonathan Jackson has talked about it, and also Hillary Tuck, like I said, has talked about it. But they did have a positive experience. It's just that, the positive experience is there. It's just that don't expect that Christopher Lloyd was like, he wasn't like the camp counselor. Okay. He was an actor on set. But I think they got along really well and the kids all got along pretty decently.
I hope so. Yeah.
I would hope. And yeah, that's kind of cool to hear about and to see. So, but yeah, I think in terms of anything else we can kind of talk about in terms of Camp Nowhere, I think we've kind of, if there's anything else we can talk about, like, I think we can start to wrap up a little bit.
Oh, totally. Yeah. There's not a ton to say about this one. I feel like we hit all the big moments.
Those big things. But I guess our Jerry Springer final thoughts, like, what are your final thoughts about like Camp Nowhere, if, to sign off a little?
I'm so happy that I got to rewatch it because I do think a lot of it works really well. I think it's a fun movie. Like if I had kids, I would happily show them this and like make it, like a fun inspiration to have a great summer. Don't do everything these kids are doing, of course. It's also a good lesson. I think it's a fun time capsule movie. I totally agree with you that it does feel like maybe it was a little too Disney Channel feeling. I don't know how they could have gotten away from that, but it's just fun to go back to the early 90s and see like these punky kids, what they were talking about. And like you were saying, without that one M word, I feel like luckily the script for the most part has held up pretty well, which is nice because, so many of these great movies, it's like, ooh, let's just like fast forward that one line. I mean, that happens so often and will continue to happen, So it's pretty rare to have a fun kids movie, where the kids are, doing their own thing. And actually there are very few like slurs. That's pretty cool. It's just a fun little bubble movie where it's like, kids rule the world and let's see if they actually, have fun doing it and can get away with it. Good casting, like we said. And it makes me want to go to summer camp, but maybe just for like a weekend. I don't know if I need to, go the full time.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I think my kind of final thoughts, my closing thoughts on Camp Nowhere is that it is like a pretty decent little movie. Again, I think I gave it like a 3 or 3.5 on Letterboxd. I think it was.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah, that feels right.
I'm looking right now. I gave it a 3. So, for me, I think this movie is kind of in that pantheon of like the kids taking over blank sort of thing. This kind of works into something like, House Arrest or,
totally.
that Carpool movie or.
Oh my God, Carpool. Yeah.
Yeah. The one with Rachel Lee Cook in it and, that kind of thing. Or just any of these movies where like kids are now ruling. And it's interesting that this was a major studio and they released this film and unfortunately it did flop in a way. But I also think like the people who love this movie, I think really do love it. And I think that it is something where it's not the worst thing to show your kid. Right. It's on Disney Plus for a reason, and
I'm so happy it is because for a while you couldn't really find it. There were years there where like I guess you could maybe rent it from like one streamer, but it wasn't really anywhere with a subscription for a while. So I'm glad,
right.
Yeah, I'm glad to find it easily.
Yeah, totally. It's nice to be able to have that, but I do think that it does set out for what it's trying to do, and it's cool to see all these different people, and I think also just giving Christopher Lloyd the chance to be this leading person, and it's a fun time, and I think like it's not perfect. This very well could have just been a Disney Channel original movie if they wanted it to be. It would have fit in with like not Wish Upon a Star, but like in that similar vein. Do you know what I mean? It could have very well done that, but and then I could
see Disney Plus bringing it back like as a TV show. I think it could like
honestly
work,
I think it could work. Yeah,
that could be fun. I mean, I guess it would be pretty kid focused. I don't know if we would watch it, but
sure.
I think that could be kind of cute and just how they're constantly coming up with like lies for their parents, and I don't know how many years you'd get out of it, but that could be a fun like limited series. I don't know,
it could be kind of fun.
They see, because I feel like these streamers know what old movies are doing well on their streamers, so that's why then randomly you're like they're bringing that back, and it's like the original must have done really well for them.
I know, right?
So I could see that someday.
Could see it for sure. But Mark, I think that brings us to an end. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm so glad you have. I'm so glad that when I put out that I was like, hey, I think I want to do an episode on this. Does anybody want to do it? And you were like, hell yeah,
totally. I saw that. And I was like, oh, this is. And
I'm glad I'm glad that you had seen it before I did, and like you have like a bit of a history with it. So it was nice to have somebody who ultimately is a fan of it, but also I think can critique it and to also talk about like why this movie does generally work. There's some things in it that don't work, and whatever, but I like that because I like having that a little bit of a nuanced approach to that.
Oh,
So,
totally. Oh,
always
yeah. Very,
important.
very few of these old movies that we love are like perfect, right? So you kind of have to critique them a little bit, and that doesn't mean we don't love them.
Sure.
We're just celebrating them completely, right?
Absolutely. And I'll definitely be in talks with you about trying to come back on your show. I know.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
we still have some time. You know, I know you're still covering some good stuff. I have to see what you're planning, and then I'll be like, I might just slide up in there because.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
all
pretty.
good.
I think I'm pretty much set for the rest of this year. I think I say that, but then there's always some changes. But yeah, you'll be back next year for sure. Yeah.
Oh, we could do that.
This
Yeah,
summer
yeah.
has been episodes of True Lies and Speed, and then Never Ending Story, and then The Sixth Sense. So I got a few different things all out. You know,
You got an old horror movie coming up as well. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but you got old horror movie, old horror classic.
Yeah.
You know, that's coming up. If you already
yeah.
have a guest for that, that's fine. But you know.
Oh, okay. I'll
it
let
might-
you know. I might have someone, but I will let you know if that
It might
falls
be.
through.
It might have to do with meat and
And
like
well, I was gonna make a sound, but it's kind of hard to make a sound. I was gonna go vroom. I was gonna go vroom
you know.
vroom, but like not
Yeah.
really vroom vroom.
No, it's
yeah.
yeah.
Yep,
If you know, you know.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, so because it is celebrating like
a big one.
50 fucking years or something
Yeah.
like that.
Crazy.
Which is amazing. But yeah, it's gonna be good times. And then I got stuff coming up too. It's gonna be a whole thing. But I think that's everything. I think we're gonna sign off now. But thank you all so much. You know, you already heard all
Thank
the
you.
social medias earlier, so please follow. It's all in the show notes. But as always, thank you for taking the time to listen to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. And remember, just because I'm smart doesn't mean I can't act stupid. And take care, everyone.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.